Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be doing some work on our side garden. This area of our garden is north facing and it's kind of boxed in between the walls of the house and the laurel hedge that you see. And that makes it is the spot of the garden that receives the least sun throughout the year. My goal with this project is to optimize the space by widening the pathway around here. I'll be making that a bit bigger by about 60 centimeters. And I'm also going to be creating a small garden bed on which I'll be planting some ornamental grasses. That will be on this side over here. On the rest of the surface, I'm going to be putting down some landscape fabric to suppress all the weeds that are growing in that space and make it as low maintenance as possible. I'm going to be starting with widening the existing walkway. And I'm using a few easy to grab tools here just to draw out the space in which I want the pathway to be in. So it's the middle of January and it's really cold out here. The ground is a bit frozen, but with the tools that I'm using, I'm able to work it, and I'm going to be digging up a little more dirt to make enough room for the gravel and the travertine tiles that I plan to put here afterwards. In order for the tiles to sit evenly on the surface, it's very important to level the area as much as possible. So once I've cleaned up the space and made enough room for the gravel and the travertine to come in, I have some gravel that's scattered around here, and I'm just going to be pulling that into that spot where I want the pathway to be. I'm using whatever I have available. However, it could be really wise to use like a spirit level to measure how straight, even that the surface is before putting in the stones. I don't intend to use that technique. For me right now, what I'm doing is trying to lay the gravel as flat as possible and just have them serve the purpose that I intend them to. My eldest son is coming in to give me a hand. He's going to be helping me to carry the stones, to place them a bit closer to where I'm working. And later on, I'm going to take the time and position them exactly the way I want them to be. So the travertine tiles come from the front part of the garden where we have the sitting area. I recently decided to remove one row of these tiles, and they've been sitting back here ever since then. And I'm happy to be able to use them in this project today. So I'm simply going to be using the tiles or the pathway that was initially laid by professional to position my own tiles. And that should work pretty well because the tiles have the same dimensions. I'm just going to be placing mine right next to the ones that were initially in position. So I had to do a little bit of tweaking here and there, moving the stones around, but finally I got to lay all the stones, all the tiles, the way I wanted them to be, and I'm really happy with the outcome. It's not perfect, but I'm really happy with how it looks, and I think it's going to make this space even more interesting. Right now I'm going to be moving on to the next stage of the project, and that will be to create another garden bed around here, a smaller one this time, on which I plan to plant some perennial grasses, and that will be right next to the hydrangea bed that I recently made. I think that would just bring the whole space together and connect the two areas much better.
Gotta focus on yourself, on your faith, on your dreams, on your mind, on your health, yeah. You gotta work, never tell.
I want to plant the grasses, and in this bag right here I have some of the plants that I got on sales back in fall. So these are perennial grasses. They may look a bit dead right now, but they're supposed to bounce back as soon as the warmer weather returns. So come spring, I'm going to be cutting them back, and then they'll be growing fresh new green leaves, and they'll look really lush. So I really look forward to seeing that in spring. So it's early in the morning on a Saturday morning when I'm getting to do this, and the sun is not yet shining up high. And so the soil is still very much frozen here. So I'm going to be leaving that grass there So right now I'm going to go ahead and just trim the hedge because I want to put a trampoline in this area for the kids later on. We used to have a trampoline here before, and I'm going to be putting a new trampoline in as soon as the warm days return. So I'm going to go ahead now, clear the space, trim the hedge, and then go back to planting the grasses pretty much. So I'm done with trimming the hedge. It's not perfect, and I'm not a professional in any of these things. I took a big chunk out of it, and it looks much better than before. So in the meantime, the sun is shining a bit much higher, and the soil is a bit more workable right now. So I'm going to go ahead now and plant these grasses, and then head on to installing the landscape fabric in the area where I'll later on put the trampoline. So the grass that I'm using here is a Chinese silver grass. It's a dwarf variety that is supposed to grow between 80 centimeters to 1 meter 20. And I'm hoping that it's going to grow into these big clumps that would help to hide the trampoline a little bit. So I've spaced them out about 60 centimeters. And I've also added in some compost around the new plants just to help them better settle into the new garden bed. So the final and next stage of this project is to lay down the landscape fabric in the rest of the area where the trampoline is actually going to be sitting. And the reason I'm doing that is because we used to have a trampoline here, and there was a lot of grass growing underneath the trampoline, which was very difficult to maintain. I want to avoid that this time around by using this landscape fabric, and with that I hope to eliminate any weed and any undesired plants that will be growing there. Finally, to finish off the project, I'm going to be mulching the grasses with the same wood chips that I use in the hydrangea bed. I'm just going to pull the whole area together, and it would look like a continuous L-shaped garden bed. So still work in progress, but this is how everything is looking right now. I'm going to be completing the space here with gravel once I've assembled the trampoline and I've put it in place. And I'm sure this is going to look really nice once the plants wake up when the warm weather returns and everything starts looking alive and lush. So I'm really happy with how this is looking right now. I do have a lot of potting to do with some plants also back there, but this space is complete as of now. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in our next video. Bye bye.